This week in the rumor mill, to round out the episode, we have a big sequel rumor to squash because apparently it is absolutely not happening. I say that very specifically. Plus, we have a couple of X-Men rumors to discuss, as well as new Nintendo leaks for the Switch 2 show a very probable break in protocol for the gaming giant. And then we've got quite an interesting rumor mill on top of all of that as well.
It's classified.
Hello nerds, and welcome to the Rumor Mill. You have found the appropriate cheat code to get to the news before it becomes news. Here we will discuss rumors in the pop culture and nerdy realm of things, then we will discuss the probability that those rumors are legitimate, and then finally probably a little bit of my own personal speculation. If you want the more concrete news that has already become news, then there is a full news show over on the main channel called The Week in Nerddom, which you can find linked down in the description, as well as at the end of this video. Now, let's see what all of those rumor mongers have to say, and which of them are just plain full of poop. Confirmations, refutations is where we start the section proper for the rumor mill. First up is a confirmation. We already kind of talked about this in the movie section. Confirmation for those Knull rumors in Spider-Man. Yeah, Donny Cates, this is just further confirmation that this is more than just a cameo. But Donny Cates, who is the creator of the character of Knull, took to X to say effectively that Knull was going to be the villain for the movie. He says Venom is fighting the character that he created, and apparently his 40th birthday was just a few days ago. So happy late birthday, I guess, Donny. But super interested to see what the hell is going on with this. He also, in a later tweet, said that he saw the script, he read the script, and it is wild. So if the creator of the character is signing off on the script, which that sounds like that's what he did, then I'm very intrigued to see what the hell's going on here. That's our first one. Our second refutation is not a confirmation, it is a refutation, is the Goonies. This is the one that we did the tease for. The big sequel that we're refuting is Goonies 2. Goonies 2 is not happening. At least, according to, Corey Feldman, Martha Plimpton, that was the one I couldn't remember. Corey Feldman and Martha Plimpton both have come out and said that they have no knowledge of a Goonies 2 happening. And when we previously talked about this, when we were talking about the fact that the rights had been purchased by somebody to do it, it was made known that WB wanted to do the right thing by the franchise. So, and I think even that was an official statement from a representative at, was it WB? Let's consult the notes, shall we? Yes, WB. WB wanted to get it right. So, if they wanted to get it right, then you would assume that Martha Plimpton and Corey Feldman would be involved because they were involved with the first movie. Sean Astin has said certain things in the news a while ago that implied that maybe this was going forward to some degree, but it is not. The previous rumor that we discussed with this was that production was about to actively go underway and they were going to be into principal photography before the end of this year. That part is what we're refuting. That is not happening. The potential for a Goonies 2 movie to happen definitely still exists. Again, Warner Brothers has said that it is on the list of things that they want to do. With this current state of Warner Discovery, maybe that might not happen, but it is still potentially there. So will it never happen? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is it's not happening now. So that's all we got. Let's get into news sources for old rumors. We only have one piece in here. News source for the Resident Evil gaming rumors. We now have a news source that confirms. So this is kind of one of the worst kept secrets in gaming at this point, because gaming rumors, the only sources I have are usually pretty good. And now that we have two sources for it, there's kind of no denying. We have Code Veronica and Resident Evil 0 are both in different stages of development, but both in active development at this point. So it sounds like Code Veronica will be the first one out of the gate, and then Resident Evil 0 will be after Code Veronica. No release dates, obviously, for any of this because it is technically still rumor. So yeah, that's what we got. Let's move into the new rumors, shall we? This is where we get really interesting with the rumor mill. Starting things off, speaking of Knull, because we are going to be speaking of Knull for some time, I'm sure, we have the symbiote god is said to be either the next big bad or one of the big bads going forward in the MCU proper, so 616 universe, with a guest spot in Secret Wars 2. This, I feel like I'm being rather generous with this likelihood because there is really nothing at all that you can do to confirm this. But because I'm really just kid gloving the Knull stuff, I'm going to say about 50% likely that we will see him. I don't know that he's going to be the next big bad, but will he be big bad for maybe some sort of minor arc in a future phase of the MCU? Yeah, that seems like a good idea. If it's not likely, it's still a good idea. So, but is there any corroborating evidence for this? Not really. We're going to say 50% likely for that part. But also, there is a second rumor here dealing with Knull specifically, and that is who is playing Knull. So Norman Reedus, we know, is not playing Knull. I guess that's technically a refutation because that's big rumor for since this trailer dropped. No, Norman Reedus is not playing Knull. The actual rumor here is that Rhys Ifans, who previously played the Lizard in the Spider-Man universe, is going to be playing Knull for this movie. Obviously, he's not returning as the Lizard. The reason I say it's obvious is because if you go check out that trailer, Rhys Ifans is in the trailer, and he's a hippie or something. So, like, that also, I think, squashes this rumor too, though. He's going to be a different role entirely. He's not going to be a villain, it would seem. There is still a modicum of possibility that he is going to be something more than just that hippie character, but it sounds like maybe that hippie character is just going to be some sort of mentor, some sort of wise advice giver person to Venom, and that's going to be about it because we hear a little voiceover from him in the trailer. So I say 15% likely that we're going to see Rhys Ifans play Knull. Who is going to play Knull, I think we will not know until approximately a week before the movie releases. Or whenever it is that IMDb does their proper update, or Wikipedia, whoever does the proper update that gives us the definitive casting list, that's when we'll know. I don't think that knowledge is going to be had before that time. Moving on, staying in the Spider-Man universe side of things, though, we're going to be talking about... Okay, so Knull again, kind of. Spider-Man 4, rumor is the villain is going to be Knull for Spider-Man 4, which will then bump those plans we talked about previously, also rumored, plans for a quote-unquote street-level movie where you get your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's going to bump that back to Spider-Man 5, presumably, and this is going to be not multiversal, but just an Avengers-level event. So, yeah. This one seems also slightly less likely, but I mean, since Knull's there and he's a big part, like maybe the Sony contract is changing with Marvel. Maybe that because integration is not something they've done super well in the past, but now that they're losing Venom and then they're also not doing so hot with the other Spider-Man-less movies, like maybe they've renegotiated and so they're integrating a little bit better. Either way, I can't necessarily... There's not enough to go on either side. We're going to split the difference and say 50% likely for that one as well. But there's there's actually two more Spider-Man rumors, specifically the director, because that's been a big thing at this point. Destin Daniel Cretton, who previously directed Shang-Chi, is now said to be in negotiations to be directing Spider-Man 4. So according to some very strong sources, this one is kind of almost all but a lock. So we're looking at 70% likely that we'll be seeing Destin Daniel Cretton behind the camera for this movie, which would be interesting. I would definitely be intrigued to see what he could bring to the franchise. And then we have another source saying that it is Spider-Man 4 specifically is not going to deal with the multiverse, but is still somehow going to be an Avengers level event. So specifically dealing with the non-multiversal Avengers level event in a Spider-Man movie. I don't know, there's just a lot of that doesn't ring true. There have been a number of sources talking about something like this or some variation of this rumor. So I can't say it's completely unfounded, but I can say that it just feels wrong. So this one, we're going to go pretty negative. We're going to say 25% likely that we will be seeing a non-multiversal Avengers level event in Spider-Man 4. I think it's going to be big, but maybe not that big. From there, let's talk about Scarlet Witch. Staying with the MCU, Scarlet Witch is reportedly going to be coming back to the MCU because apparently Elizabeth Olsen wasn't at some point. I don't know that that was ever a thing, but yeah, so 90% likely that we're going to see a Scarlet Witch movie just in general. There's another rumor dealing similarly with this we'll get to in just a second, but the fact that a Scarlet Witch movie is going to happen starring Elizabeth Olsen, sure. I mean, like, I feel like that shouldn't even be rumor at this point. Like, she signed on to be the character, and we haven't heard otherwise at this point, so no reason to think otherwise. Next up, let's talk about the X-Men. So we have a couple of rumors here, the first of which being that there are, in fact, 2 different X-Men projects currently underway to some degree at the MCU. This one's just, I don't know, vagary kind of helps usually, but I don't think that in this instance it helps enough to say that this is even halfway there. So this is 40% is where we're going. 40% likely that there are 2 X-Men projects in development. Is there early stages of development on one X-Men project? That seems pretty likely. We are still a number of years away from seeing an X-Men movie. Will we see X-Men in other movies? Probably. I mean, we kind of already have. We have Wolverine in Deadpool, right? So will we see other X-Men besides Wolverine in other projects? Probably. Will we see a proper X-Men project before, Avengers, what is the second one? Doomsday, right? No, Secret Wars is the second one. Duh. So will we see proper X-Men project before Secret Wars? No. Will a proper X-Men project be going into early production before Secret Wars? Yes. 2 X-Men? No, absolutely not. So again, I kind of graded this one up just a little bit. So we're going to say 40%. From there, we have another X-Men rumor, this one dealing with Kelsey Grammer supposedly returning to play Beast moving forward. So this one, I feel like there's a line of distinction that needs to be drawn because will Kelsey Grammer probably be reprising his role as Beast at least one more time? I would say, yeah, that's pretty safe bet because we have Secret Wars coming up and we have the destruction of the multiverse very likely coming up. So will we see a whole bunch of fan servicey cameos? Yeah, I would say that's a safe bet. They're just going to be cameos, though. This rumor specifically says that Kelsey Grammer is going to be playing Beast into the future to a certain degree, much like we're going to be seeing Hugh Jackman playing Logan for a given time in the future at this point. So I think that part is really what kills this because I just can't see them pushing, I really can't see them pushing a new X-Men team with somebody the age of Kelsey Grammer also being part of the new team. Like that, it's all of that just points to them casting a group of younger actors who can sign on for the next 15 to 20 years. So yeah, no, we're gonna say 30% just because we will see him in the future. I think it's only gonna be a cameo once. There is a possibility it will be maybe 2 to 3 cameos, but anything beyond that, I really think is grasping at straws. So 30% likely for Kelsey Grammer. Let's move into gaming real quick. Gaming, Nintendo Switch 2. Technically, this is a leak, but again, leaks belong in rumors because leaks can change and leaks can be wrong because people can say it's a leak and make up the entire bit. Anyway, so Nintendo Switch 2, now that they have gone into manufacturing, as according to the leak at least, which would make sense because everyone is anticipating them launching the console, was it like Q1 or Q2 of 2026? So if they want to attack the console launch properly, then it would make sense that they're going into production this early or sometime soon at the very least. So them saying that they're in production isn't necessarily the scary part or the crazy part. The crazy part though is kind of twofold. One is that they're going to be calling the Nintendo Switch 2 the Nintendo Switch 2. This will be the first time, well, I take that back. Super Nintendo and the original Nintendo Entertainment System, NES and SNES. That is the only other time that two consoles have shared. Oh no, I take that back. I take that back again because Wii and Wii U. Where was my brain when I was writing these notes? So this is not necessarily unusual. So the fact that I gave it such a high mark on the probability doesn't seem as unlikely as when I originally wrote this number. But yeah, so then calling it the Nintendo Switch 2, this will be the first time though that it's been given a number quantifier. Whereas, like I said previously, the Nintendo, the NES, then the SNES, so Nintendo Entertainment System and Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and then the Wii and the Wii U. Again, not a number differentiator, just an extra letter effectively. So we're going to say 90% likely on this one. The other part of this one though is that it's going to be basically the same form factor. It's just going to be more advanced hardware under the hood, which requires a little bit of a redesign, but by and large it is going to be the same basic form factor, according to this leak. Again, 90% likely on this one, just because all of that seems, there's little reason to believe otherwise, especially when it comes to gaming rumors. So our final rumor, before we get to speculation on other things discussed in today's episode, our final rumor is MCU release dates. So this leaker actually went into much greater detail with other movies as well. But I feel like the two that are worth discussing, because everything else was way too far out to be discussed honestly. The two that I feel like were worth discussing were Doctor Strange 3 and Scarlet Witch. Like I said, we're revisiting the Scarlet Witch rumors. Doctor Strange 3 is, according to the rumor, expected to be February 13th of 2026. And then Scarlet Witch movie is expected to be November 6th of 2026. Now, normally that kind of specificity would be a little bit weird because where the hell did you pull those dates out of? Well, we know where those dates come from because Marvel has announced that they have a number of untitled and unannounced projects that will be launching on those dates. And then, like I said, the leaker or the rumor monger, whatever you want to call them, went even further into the future with other dates that Marvel has announced. We're going to be releasing something on these dates, and the rumor monger said they're going to be releasing these on these dates, and these are the two that were the most likely. So, and by most likely I mean like 50%. That's what we're looking at. 50% likely that these are the movies that are going to be released on these dates. So yeah, that's what we're looking at as it stands as far as regular rumors. Let's talk some speculation ever so briefly, because we do have at least the one piece dealing with Grant Morrison from the comic book section. So speculation is that Grant Morrison is going to be contributing to the anthology book for the Ice Cream Man that is an Image Comics property. Seems likely because the announcement was made in a font that resembles the Ice Cream Man font, and also with ice cream in the background on the image. So seems pretty, still technically speculation. They could be trying to pull a fast one on us, but just doesn't seem super likely. So yeah, that's our little bit of speculation for the episode, and that is what we got for the Rumor Mill, nerds. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.